work that you and I do, and along with our other team members at DFB, you know, it's ultimately to create this utopia in this safe space that if me as a man, you know, alpha in my own right, I'm engaged with you in dialogue or whatever, and I'm processing my emotions through that dialogue, and I happen to display emotions, and maybe tears do come up, right? Like, it should be a safe enough space where I don't have to feel the need that, like, what, you judging me? You think I'm weak? I'll whoop your, your tail, right? Yeah. Like, you know, because I'm at a stage where I detest violence, man. Like, yes. You know, I would 100 times out of 100 rather not get into any physical altercation with anyone, yes. Right? But I know in the society and the world that we live in, that's just not the case. You're going to have to move in such a fashion that you're able to enact a certain level of appropriate violence if necessary, right? Yes. Whether to protect, you know, or defend, right? Yeah.
Hey man, thank you very much for clicking on that video. Just go ahead and do me a quick favor. Subscribe, all right? Hit that subscribe button and continue watching this video.
Which is to either initiate or, right? So like, I realized that I can never let that side of me go. But I don't like the fact that I have to like rationalize or justify why I'm expressing emotions in any space. Yeah. Like, I should be able to do that, right? Like, I'm a human being and I have feelings, and those feelings move me in a certain way, in a particular fashion. And I'm okay with that because I'm okay with myself, and I'm yes. okay with the skin that I live in, right? If you're not okay with it and you're not built that way, then that's on you, you know. And if but again, I know that we're heavily criticized and judged by the way we express ourselves, mm-hmm. when, you know, especially in public, and that's just kind of how the certain societies and environments are built. But we're working on it. We have a different mission where we can create that space, and we have that space, yes. where people are men, women, you know, whatever they identify as, right? Like, they can express themselves in a free and safe manner where they're not being judged, right? Like, we cry along with them, hug them, embrace them, whether it's man, woman, whatever, right? You know, and let them know that it's okay. This is a safe space, yes. a psychologically safe space. And I think it's critical and important to, you know, any human being's development, because then you're able to really face yourself and work mm-hmm. on yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's not many environments like that exist out there where people can really face themselves and work on themselves without the fear of being judged, right? Yes. One way or another. That's what exists between us. So, which made it even easier, right? Mm-hmm. To have that conversation, and for you to be able to receive that conversation and say, okay, all right, he sees me, right?
Yes,
like, yes. No, he didn't see, the facade didn't fool him.
Yes.
He feels, you know, he sees me and who I am and what I'm going through, and he's able to pinpoint, like, all right, okay, take some time away and face that. The conversation was basically just have the courage to face yourself, yes. to investigate, well, where is this coming from? Put pause on everything else, right? You know, and then face this thing, process it yes. properly, give it the appropriate time, attention, and energy that it needs, mm-hmm. you know, and resolve it. That way you can move to the next level. Yes. You know, and again, without fear of being judged. You know, in a perfect world, love to be able to have that for everyone and anyone. You know, but like we said, you know, I stepped in certain environments and just kind of right away just get a whiff at certain people's energetic signature. And I'm like, this is, you know, they have the right to walk around mean mugging and be angry and have that facade and express themselves and express themselves that way. And there's environments, institutions, mm-hmm. and places in society and our culture where that's completely acceptable. Actually, it's awarded, it's applauded, right? You know, it's even given definition that this person's a good leader or a good boss or whatever, yes. right? Like, they're like, no, that's a good man or good woman if they express themselves that way, right? And again, I'm not here to try to deconstruct or attack or be an antagonist to any of that. I just know for myself that if I move into a space and my intuitiveness and my awareness says this isn't healthy for me, because that's all I'm basing it on.
Yeah.
Is this energy and this energetic signature healthy for me? And we talked about that in the previous Artistry of Life. If it's not healthy for me, right, I reject.
Yep.
And I will do the space a favor and relocate myself somewhere else, right? Like I'll either move to this side of the room or I'll just remove myself from this space altogether. I think one of the biggest challenge comes though is when, you know, people want you in that space, right? They're inviting you in that space.
Yes.
And they're actually upset because you choose not to be in that space, right? And if you don't possess the vocabulary to be able to say, that space is not healthy for me, right? Like for me, it's not healthy for my mental health, my physical health. Like it's not healthy for me. If you don't have the vocabulary to express that, you know, by pressure, you might end up going in there, or you might end up putting on a facade and going in there. Like succumbing to like the pressure. And just going in there, right? Instead of saying, nope, you know what? I emotionally, you know, I understand who you are and I understand what that environment represents. And I would love to be there. However, it affects me and it impacts me in such a way that it leaves me off balance, off centered, and I don't know how to process it healthily in that environment. Hence where I believe the word toxic environment come from.
Toxic.
Right? And then it's crazy because if you've ever had this experience, you enter a room and people in the room are engaging, they're laughing, they're talking, and the room stinks, right? Like maybe there's smokers in the room, maybe some people didn't, you know, hygiene properly in the room. You know, maybe the garbage like rotten and it needs to be taken out, but there's people in the room laughing, chilling, having a good time, and you walk in and you're like, man, it stinks in here. And then you might even vocalize it out loud. Man, it stinks in here. And everybody looks at you like, what are you talking about? Something's wrong with you. They're looking at you like something's wrong with you. Because they've grown so accustomed to that environment and that lifestyle that they can't even sense intuitively anymore, or even like be able to pick up on any awareness like, man.
Sense of smell is gone.
Right? Like, I mean, to the point where walking into certain environments, I'm checking myself like, do I stink? You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you've been in an environment and you've acclimated to that environment, right? And then, you know, you come out of the environment and you're walking like, man, something stinks. And you're looking on like, man, who's man, I stink. Like I smell this bad. And then you look at the environment, you're like, man, ain't nobody told me I stink. You know, so I remember having those experiences, and I you know, and growing and learning from that I had to be very mindful and very aware, and to the point where, you know, intuitively I'm able to perceive that, okay, certain environments, certain places, certain people are not healthy for my growth, my development, just my personal standard of living.
Yes, man, that is a great example, man. Great, after listening to this, man, there's no way anyone should be confused about that, man. That is a great way of explaining, you know, how much, you know, toxic, you know, energy affects you. This is just a very great example, because as we were talking about, I was like, man, that makes so much sense. Why, you know, when we walk out, it is like we just never, it doesn't sit right with us, man. And for me personally, it doesn't sit right, man. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to this place, right? So internally I have to like do this work where like, man, you know, and it just makes so much sense, man, because the environment is just toxic, man. And you just want to, you know, not associate yourself with them, you know, with that, any form, any manner. That is the best way to explain it, man. Thank you for that.